Shalom, family. Thank you so much for joining us for the weekly news update. It's always a pleasure and a privilege for us to get together with you. Thank you for your patience. And I just want to remind everyone that we will be rebroadcasting a Evangelist Corner midweek this week. We had some challenges to overcome, but we do plan on continuing those broadcasts. So thank you again, those of you who are part of the house and are paying attention to those things. We appreciate it. And we're certainly grateful that you stopped by for the weekly news update. It's our weekly attempt to sort of sort out the things that are going on in the earth at the time that we're in. And of course, in reflection with the scripture and looking at things from a biblical worldview. We like to think of it as the 10,000-foot view, and that helps us out. That helps us stay up in the heavens, right? Isn't that what Mashiach said? Stay up in the heavens, and don't get too caught up in the cares of this world, the deceitfulness of riches and lust of other things. This is what we try to do. We try to sit up in the heavens and not get too caught up with some of this stuff because it can get overwhelming, and that leads me to the other thing we like to say. We want to be informed without being overwhelmed. All right. And this is one of the things our enemy is constantly trying to do. He's constantly trying to put you in a state of panic, a state of frantic panic. And this makes you very manipulatable. This makes you very easily influenced, rather. It puts you in a state that's a highly suggestible state. And this is very dangerous for you. So this is very important that we practice low anxiety. We practice regularly not letting the cares of this world bother us. And so this is what this weekly exercise is really about. It's not just about using we use the headlines as a way of our anxiety management. And we use the headlines as a way of saying, hey, we're not going to let this stuff bother us. And yeah, we know what's going on. We're paying attention. We're aware, but we're not going to let it take over our lives because we got things to do that are way more important than some of the stuff that we're going to go over on the headlines. Okay, so just so you know that, and don't overexcite some of these things because they are just that. A lot of it is theatrics, and that's one of the reasons why we do these broadcasts, isn't it, folks? We do these to point out some of those theatrics, isn't it? And as a matter of fact, some people have actually calmed down as a result of these broadcasts because they realize this is really a bit of a script that we're watching. And so don't let yourself get too excited about some of these things that you see, okay? And I also want to encourage you to join us over at remnantwatch.com. It's a website that we put together. It's a labor of love done by the team here at Remnant House, and we certainly are grateful for everyone that participates in that. And you'll notice there's always a banner right at the top, takes you to the latest news update. And I also want to point out that we have these resources here. They're free, easy to download. And we do make those things available because these are the kinds of things that come up quickly. Natural disasters are the kinds of thing you don't plan on, but happen. And it is what it is. And so it is wise for all you fathers out there, grandfathers, parents out there, aunties, uncles, cousins, get them in the hands of your family members. You never know where this may come in handy as information to prepare you. If nothing else, you take a look at it. And you say, hey, I think we have most of these things, right? And we're going to be able to, get through this challenge. And so this is a good thing. And that's why we provide those on a weekly basis to help assuage some of that fear. Bring that anxiety down, okay? Bring a lot of that stress and all of that, okay? Don't let them do that to you, folks. And I just feel impressed to say this before we get into headlines today. It's not that much to talk about today. Don't worry about it. But I just tell you, don't let it overwhelm you because I see too many people making bad decisions. I see people in one of three states. They either have no plan, they're in search of a plan, or they're executing a bad plan. Unfortunately, that is generally the case. And on that note, let's get into the news. And tonight's top story, it looks like we might be coming finally to an end of this fiasco going on in Eastern Europe. And so somebody say Yada Yahuwah, because I don't know what anyone else is thinking, but I have had about enough of this nonsense. And so this new headline, I think I put it up there as wishful thinking. I hope it's true. Who wants to wish with me? Come on, guys. Let's pray for the end of this nonsense. I mean, right? Zelensky agrees to meet with Putin on Thursday. So Trump urged Zelensky to meet with Putin And Ukraine President Vladimir Zelensky agreed on Sunday to meet face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin. So Vladimir and Vladimir are going to get together. Vlad and Vlad. Putin initially proposed the Thursday meeting this weekend, and President Donald Trump prompted Zelensky to accept the offer. Putin said the talks in Istanbul must be held without preconditions and with the goal of lasting peace. So, as we've been saying for several years now, and continue to say, and I'm going to keep saying it because it's irritating to me, what purpose does these bombs have when they end up at a table anyway? So now all these people died, all kinds of destruction, everything you can imagine occurred, and then we end up at a table. This is where it always ends up, by the way, folks, at a table where people have to talk, resolve their differences, and come up with a plan. If only we would have just done that without the bombs. Did anybody see a clear winner? Did anybody see any good that came from any of this nonsense? This is why we stand against it. This is why we don't endorse or encourage this type of diplomacy, because all it is a delay of the table. But don't worry, because the airlines are going to get ready in case there's nuclear war. The airlines will still carry you to your vacation destination. I couldn't believe I had to throw this in for a little almost comic relief. Can you believe these guys? Jets could continue to fly following an atomic blast as insurers scramble to combat escalating conflicts. Airlines are taking steps to ensure that they can keep flying even after the outbreak of nuclear war. Tell me that they're not trying to scare you all. They can't even keep airlines flying in Newark, okay? And they want to talk about after nuclear war. They can't even keep them flying with air controller strike or whatever they're dealing with over there. So I think it's a little crazy that they are, having this issue. But nevertheless, here we go. And speaking of war, of course, last week, the weekly news update caught it ahead of time again. Chalk one up for the New Kingdom team, for the Remnant House team that caught it, because we had our lead story last week was that Pakistan and India were on the brink of conflict. And I don't remember there being a whole lot of coverage for it. It was kind of interesting. And so that's why we made it our top story last week. Guys, remember that? Well, then there was, in fact, now Pakistan's warning of nuclear war with India is a clear and present threat. And that was one of the stories that came out after our broadcast last week. So Pakistan was warning that there was a real danger of nuclear war, and in India, if tensions between the neighbors continue to escalate. Well, as a matter of fact, if you paid attention, you know that that's exactly what occurred. Pakistan's defense minister, Khwaja Asif, issued the chilling warning on an interview on Pakistani TV channel Geo News late Wednesday, insisting that a nuclear war threat was a clear and present danger. And I do believe that, again, we continue to see stupidity in these decisions as if somehow these things solve problems, because they don't. Okay, so India then went ahead and launched, just as we had anticipated. So the day later, India launches attacks on 3 air bases, and Pakistani army says. So our warning of the potential of outbreak in that region was confirmed. And flights resume in India's airport, local media reported. Of course, they've since calmed it down a bit, but nevertheless, the outbreak did occur. So good call. We were ahead of it. Woohoo. We still end up in the same place. Where do we end up? Oh, wait, they didn't wait they didn't go 2 years of lobbing things at each other. They decided to go ahead and get to the meeting. So they went to the meeting right away. Go, let's get to the table. Come, let us sit at the table. Come, let us sit at the table now. We're going to the table now. I don't get this. And I'm going to keep saying it until people feel ridiculous using these methods, because the fact is there's no benefit. There's no upside. All there is destruction. The only people that benefit are the people doing construction, rebuilding buildings. It's a horrible way to redo urban landscaping. I got to say. And then you want to talk about some urban landscaping. Israel decided that that missile that landed in Israel last week by the airport, it was just like one missile. It's like douche. And I mean, they made big news. Okay, they made a big deal out of it. It didn't even blow up. It was not a big, it was like, okay, yeah, well, they retaliated. Just saying. All right, they did retaliate. Israel says it has disabled Yemen's main airport with airstrikes, plural, against the rebels. They didn't send one strike. They sent airstrikes. Okay? So they let them know that, no, there won't be a commensurate level of response. It's going to be much, much bigger, and you're going to regret doing it. The Israeli military bombed the airport in Yemen's rebel-held capital Tuesday, claiming to have disabled the airfield in an attack that left commercial aircraft burning on the tarmac. So what did the commercial aircraft do? I don't know. There's civilians on that, so that doesn't make sense to me. As fighter jets struck power plants and other targets. The rare daytime attack in Sana'a, held by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthi rebels since 2014, came as a part of a second day of Israeli airstrikes in response to a Houthi ballistic missile striking the grounds of Ben Gurion International Airport near Tel Aviv last week. So we saw that. We actually saw footage of it. And, again, it was a big nothing burger. I mean, it could have done harm if it landed on you, but it didn't hit anybody. And it certainly didn't blow up the airport. They blew up the airport. Okay. And now we can negotiate. Come and negotiate, we'll do a deal. It's just never-ending, constant nonsense. And I only point it out this way because we do want to poke a little fun at it, because then we stop taking it quite as seriously. If you're in the theater of operations, and we certainly want you to get out of there if you're in danger, and we certainly understand that there's real peril. Nevertheless, some of the stuff is, in fact, theatrics, folks. We knew full well, for example, that there was no way China and the United States would stay in a trade war state indefinitely. We'll get there in a second. But before we do, we should note that the conflict that did outbreak between India and Pakistan, though brief, was deadly. So there were 26 people killed as a result of the attacks that occurred. So I feel compelled to say that was not a light matter. And we really, 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 guys, I don't know what in the world. I don't understand this thinking. And maybe you can help me out. Because honestly, I keep waiting for grown-ups to show up and say, are we done yet? Have we had enough? And slap somebody and say, sit down. I remember how my grandma walked in, man. Even my dad sat down. Everybody sat down. Nobody said anything. What happened to the grandmas and grandpas that walk in and say, everybody, tú te sienta ahí. You sit down. We're going to get this all sorted. What happened to those people? I don't know, but we need them, because I'll tell you right now, this is nonsense. And instead of solving problems, you want to know what the elite are doing? You want to know what the wealthy are doing? With their billions and trillions? Do you think they're thinking, hey, let's make the world a better place? Let's improve conditions, for people around the world. Let's do positive things. Is that what you're thinking? Oh, well, no, you wouldn't be thinking correctly, because the scripture told you what they would be doing. Yes, in the book of James, he warns ahead of time what they were going to do. And sure enough, they're doing it exactly as predicted. U.S.'s $21 trillion underground network for only the wealthy to hide out in near extinction event, official says. Okay. All right. So the U.S. has built a secret underground city. Now, we published this report in 2014 when Yahuwah gave me a word concerning underground city. And of course, we get laughed at for these things. Like, what do we know, right? Because we don't know anything. And so we share it and we put it out there. And sure enough, look at this. U.S. has built the secret underground city costing $21 trillion. You call that a city? I'd call that probably something bigger than a city. Okay, so that's huge. And they're slowly disclosing to you that they've got underground hypersonic trains and all kinds of stuff going on under the ground. And so, of course, Catherine Austin Fitz, who served as the Assistant Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President George Bush, made the shocking allegation in former Fox News host Tucker Carlson's podcast,
according to Realtor.com. And a stunning $21 trillion in an unauthorized spending occurred in the department between 1998 and look what it ended, 2015, according to a 2017 report released by Michigan State University economist Mark Skidmore. And so, those of you that thought there's something going on down there, you were right. Those of you that thought, they can't pass an audit, come on, man. Right? You knew that was nonsense. Well, you were right. It was nonsense. Now, you had to wait long enough to get the answer, right? So this is the long math. This is the way they play their con. They don't tell you anything. Let years go by, and then they go, oh, yeah, that's what happened. Oh, yeah. And then, of course, all the steam's gone, right? So nobody's prosecuting anybody. Nobody's doing anything. That's some clever stuff right there, folks. But this is what's been going on for quite a while. And that's why we do these broadcasts, because a lot of you have never seen these tricks before. So I feel obligated, and I'm sure the Grandpa Brigade agrees with me. We should be busting them out a little, okay? So you guys don't get a little too, upset about the stuff that's going on. Here's another thing that we see all the time, okay? They make big deals out of this stuff like it's a big deal. Hegseth sparks fears as he moves to axe generals. Do you want to know how many generals Obama got rid of? Goodness gracious. That's just very normal. I don't think there's been a president that didn't. I'm not even going to read this. I don't even think there's been a president that didn't do rearranging at the top, because they have priorities and they want the priorities executed around the world. So they have the right. Usually generals serve for one or two administrations, and that's it. So don't find that too odd. See, if you don't know that, you would go, oh, what's going on? Oh my, are we going to go? And it's all fear. It's all meant to make you on the edge of your chair, and bad decisions get made. Really bad decisions, okay? So, folks, calm down. Everybody calm down. It'll work out better. And then, of course, there are things they don't want you to know about, all right? There are things that they downplay. Like, it's now being reported that they downplayed the recent election of the Pope, this new Pope Leo that took over for, I think he's a wind down agent, folks. That's what I think he is. Pope Leo deliberately downplayed being American to make sure he won the papacy. And looked like Donald Trump knew he was going to win before he got in. Chicago-born Pope Leo was slammed by MAGA conservatives in the U.S. who lashed out at his shared social media posts attacking the Donald Trump administration, leading to accusations of him being, quote, woke. No, I don't know if he's woke or not. I don't know about that. And that's going to be an interesting thing for folks to continue to watch. I don't think this is an actual pope. I think this is an administrator who's been brought in to wind down operations of a dead corp. How's that for clear? This is a wind down. They're doing a public relations, little thing there. Keep it all looking good. Keep everything looking copacetic. But there's a dead fish, my friends. That there's dead. And it's being gutted. And it won't be long before that becomes obvious to everybody. But in the meantime, they love facades, and they love their theatrics, and they love manipulating people, and they love the crowds. So they're going to keep doing this as long as people show up. Show must go on, even if it's totally fake. Just say it. Just be aware. That's not going anywhere. Okay, so that's going to stay there. You're going to have more and more people. Basically, little by little, that's going to become really obvious. And it looks like the Trump administration is making some big waves in their finally coming to deals with China. And so we knew that was going to happen again, folks. It was only a matter of time. These economies are too large. The amount of devastation that we're doing on both sides was pretty bad. It was a different kind of war. Okay. And where does it end? Where does this economic war end? Oh, wait, what a shock. It ends at a table. At a table. Wow. Who knew it would end at a table, right? And sure enough, the Chinese Vice Premier says a meeting with the U.S. in depth, candid, and constructive. Well, sure it is. They're coming to an end to this nonsense. Okay, so they finally come to a point where they're going, all right, let's come to something that's reasonable. Chinese Vice Premier He Lefeng said here on Sunday that the China-U.S. high-level meeting in economic and trade affairs were in-depth, candid, and constructive. He, the Chinese-led person for the China-U.S. economic and trade affairs, made the remarks when briefing the press following the high-level meeting with the U.S. side. And again, they're both large economies are just doing massive damage to one another. So, folks, it was only a matter of time before this was somehow resolved. I don't think it matters, though, because the power centralization bus has left the station and nobody wants to get on it. So everything's centralized, all this centralized power, it's disintegrating. It's starting to crack and crumble. It is under the weight of stone or iron mixed with clay. It just can't hang. It's not going to hang. Iron mixed with clay, it's not working, like Daniel predicted. And so it's starting to fall apart, starting to crumble. It's not going to be rebuilt in some great thing. No, it's going to keep falling apart. They don't have the juice to pull off. They did the best they could. That was their international effort to bring us under one world government, and it failed miserably, very miserably. And there aren't enough bombs to create enough tables to make everybody on Earth go with that plan. So those of you waiting for that to happen, you're just believing in nonsense. There's no way that's going to ever happen. They can't even get together on anything. And so this continues to be a problem. Here they're still struggling again. Trump administration reveals bombshell trade deal with China weeks after tariffs ripped apart world economy. And the fact of the matter is he didn't exactly win. President Donald Trump's administration struck a trade deal with China. The White House announced there were productive talks, meaning you got your butt kicked in Switzerland on Sunday and previewed a briefing on Monday to go over the details of the agreement. You'd come out here gloating if you had won. You would be gloating. You'd be doing the, right? You'd be doing the dance. So you didn't win. You know what happened? They introduced you to reality. What's going to likely happen is they're going to have to renegotiate a whole lot of debt, and the one that's going to be walking off with nothing is going to be the Federal Reserve. So this is going to get to be an interesting pullout of all of these various things that we've gotten ourselves entangled in over the years. And folks, you got to remember something. With the advent of Chat GPT, with the advent of AI and honest brokers, if you will, or at least an attempt to make that, it's calling out fraud left and right. It's calling out absolute fraud. It's calling out breaking or breaches of the Constitution. It's calling these things out. It's going to be harder and harder to defend against this. So it's only a matter of time before they completely redo the system, if you will. They have to. And so I believe what you're seeing is a lot of negotiation in advance of whatever it is that they're about to share with all of us, okay? This is why it's important for you as believers, as sons and daughters of the Most High with hearts of love, that you be wise, that you don't let yourselves be in these traps that they want to set up, and they're setting them up. So just understand that and be aware. Your sensitivity is increasing for a reason. Some of you are getting dreams and visions and other things that are helping you understand where you are. Don't take those things lightly. They are all part of the tapestry that is awakening. So understand that a lot of people are suffering economically right now. And I believe this is going to be a tough period that we're going through. Money worries are crushing mental health. And this is really, really serious, folks, because when the deceitfulness of riches starts crushing mental health, people start doing really stupid things, especially for money. Really stupid things. So 7 in 10 Americans report peak financial stress. That is a bad sign. So please pray for your neighbors, pray for your loved ones, pray for your brothers and sisters, pray for solutions, pray for leaders, pray for the house to come up with solutions to help its brethren. Pray for ministry and leaders like ARM to come together and unite and bring together solutions for people, not just reporting the problem. Amen. 7 in 10 Americans report all-time high financial anxiety, with 40% taking mental health days off or work or type or school to cope. Only 14% currently receive therapy, with cost being the biggest barrier, to seek professional mental health support. See, we're having a collapse here, folks, a mental collapse. This is what's needed for the body to go to work. The body doesn't go to work without the brain. Americans are turned to self-care alternatives. 65% use music, 51% engage in hobbies, and 71% exercise weekly. And so they're trying to find ways to get out of that sense that they're having. But the reality is, we were told that because iniquity would abound. What is iniquity? Lawlessness, a disrespect for Yahuwah's laws. Because iniquity would abound, the love of many would wax cold. And what does love do? Love gives you sanity, folks, in case you didn't know that. You cannot have a sound mind without love. So if your love is waxing cold, so will your brain. So will the way your mind works. So will the way you put 2 and 2 together. You will not come up with the right answers. And so this is what's waning. This is what's making this world very dangerous for all of you. And so Americans are drowning in muddy waters, is taking a serious toll on their mental health. And a new survey reveals that 70% of Americans say their financial stress has hit an all-time high. And that'll happen to thieves. Remember, they're under a curse. He said they're cursed with a curse. Is it evident? Can you see it? I can. I certainly can. I certainly see the ravaging effects of what is described in Deuteronomy chapter 28 every day. And so when I look out, I see exactly what Messiah warned about, the deceitfulness of riches. And we are seeing some changes going on in our world. One of the things that we can't control, and I like to pay attention to, is weather. And now they're threatening to knock out the radar. They don't want you to have radar. National Weather Service is on heightened alert after recent threats from a militia-style group that believes the agency's Doppler radar system being used as weather weapons. So now there's people that are waking up to the potential that some of these things that are actually creating the weather. Initial reports indicate the group, identified by CNN as Veterans on Patrol, has targeted radar facilities operated by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And the group reportedly sent threats, calling the radar network a weapon, and encouraged attacks on weather sites. So again, what did I say about sound thinking? What did I say about mental health? Does that sound like a sound strategy to you? That's just going to get a bunch of people arrested. Okay? What needs to happen is exposure of these things so that they can be exposed. That's the answer. You can't just waltz in and start tearing things down without the will of the people. Remember, it's the consent of the governed. So tell the governed. That's the answer. The answer is tell the governed and let the governed together respond. That way you don't have to get arrested. So it's kind of a big deal, folks. And speaking of big deal, we got Navy jets falling into the ocean. And that is something that continues to happen. This story is on a paywall, so I can't bring it up. But a Navy jet, it's a fourth major event that's occurred, an F-18, another one. So America's looking kind of weak out there in the world with its military, not really performing like the military that I was in. I don't know about the rest of you. And so, it doesn't look like to me like they're planning on a war. I think they're planning on running and hiding. Folks, look at this. U.S. government is upgrading a secretive FEMA bunker. Why? Oh, that's classified. You don't get to know why. No. A classified upgrade is underway at Mount Weather, secretive FEMA facility buried in Virginia's Blue Mountains. And so they're not telling anybody why they're doing this, right? A secretive underground FEMA base was where congressional leaders hid following 9/11 attacks is getting an upgrade. But what exactly are workers doing at Mount Weather? Well, that's classified. And the contractors who are doing the work have top secret security clearances. So they've got plans, and this is not good because if you think, even if it's not true, but if you think, oh, I can go here and I'll be safe, therefore, and it plays into your thinking to make other decisions, whether it's true or not, you'll be safe, not relevant, you might kick off some other stuff. What are we looking at here? potentially some real serious conflagrations. And again, I think there's a lot of effort to avoid that, a lot of effort going on in the earth right now to bring temperatures down, but there's also a lot of effort to start war. There are war mongers. The book of Revelation talks about war mongers. Okay, so people that love to make war, and we are seeing them across the earth right now, folks. So we need to keep our prayers up. We need to continue to pray for our brothers and sisters. We need to continue to hold one other up in this time period, and not encourage these things. Remember, they come from us. Remember, if we bite and devour, they'll bite and devour. So we got to walk in shalom. It flows down the mountain. So stay in shalom, everybody. Stay in shalom. Amen and amen. And so there is a secretive thing. They've got a lot of things going on. They think they're going to run the world. I think they're going to die in their bunker. That's what I think. But we'll wait and see. In the meantime, we're seeing the effects of this global conflict, and it is an economic conflict, and the global shipping is ground down to a standstill. It's a matter of time before America feels it. So right now, you're seeing a major shortage of goods in U.S. stores. This is why the pressure was on for the Trump administration, because too many stores are supplied by Chinese goods. And there shortages are going on, and deterioration in global shipping is any indication. They are on their way, and they could complicate the White House's plans for Americans to be patient as trade officials rush to strike dozens of deals. So the pressure hit, it got too much, and he finally had to cave. I think he would have liked to have waited a little longer to put a little more pressure on China. But his own country began to feel it because they were intertwined. U.S. import booking volumes have dropped 35% since late March, according to shipping data company Vision, and including a 26% drop between the week ending April 21st. And I know that here at New Kingdom, one of our companies, we had to pause development on one of our companies because of this issue of shipping product and product development. So we do know that this very much affects real world stuff. And we're really grateful that some of it is going to be resolved. But nevertheless, folks, this is what was predicted. This is the kind of thing that the book of Revelation warned us was going to occur. The economic war is only going to continue, as we know where Nexus is in. After all, they still need you to play their game. But I do believe that their power has waned. And I believe that they are no longer in the position they once were. They had an opportunity. They shot it, and it failed. And so now we're going to see the aftermath of that. A lot of attempts to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think you guys are winning. I really do. I think that your prayers are winning. I think that a lot of things that people wanted to go one way are going another. I think it's, a sign of the fact that what the theys out there thought they could pull off was not approved. And as a matter of fact, there's a big diplomatic push going on right now in the Middle East that Israel's actually on the sidelines of, to be honest. As a matter of fact, they're telling Israel, if you don't get on board, you're not even going to be invited to the discussion. Gulf diplomatic sources debate if Trump will announce U.S. recognition of a Palestinian state. Yeah, check this out. Saudi Arabia will host a Gulf U.S. summit in mid-May during Trump's mid-East visit. And speculation swirls over a major announcement on a Palestinian state and a peaceful U.S.-Saudi nuclear cooperation. And they were warning Israel, you better get on board with this. We're going with or without you. So the summit hosted by Saudi Arabia on its capital, Riyadh, was preceded by numerous predictions regarding the announcement that Trump referred to, describing it as a very important announcement during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at the White House on Tuesday, May 6th. And so again, folks, since our last report, we're watching a bit of a shakeup going on. I did hear that Alberta, I believe it was, is actually considering joining the United States. There's a tremendous amount of shakeup occurring on the North American continent. So stay tuned. It's going to get interesting. Okay. And, this information about the elite having their own things set aside, that's going to continue to backfire, folks. That isn't going to go well. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay. There were some earthquakes for those of you, our folks out in Tennessee. All of a sudden, we're seeing more and more movement over here. This concerns us a great deal because, as many of you know, we were watching and continue to watch that part of the world because of some of the predictions and the different things that occurred, the eclipses that crisscrossed that part of the country, and a 4.1 magnitude earthquake confirmed in East Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake was confirmed near the state border of Tennessee and North Carolina, so toward the eastern side of the state, Sunday morning, according to the U.S. Geological Survey. So North Carolina certainly had enough of their stuff. They don't need any more. It looks like it is still an active region. And so again, folks, we only warn you about these things because there may be more to it than meets the eye. So we're hearing about earthquakes. Did we miss the story about underground cities? Did everybody miss that? Did they miss the work going on in underground cities? Everybody miss that? I wonder, could they be connected? Nah. Don't be a conspiracy theorist. It's interesting, though. We're seeing very interesting things happening in interesting places that can't really be explained. Kind of like drones that nobody still to this day has explained. Remember that? Drones over airports and stuff? Whatever happened to the explanation? You know, when Trump came in, we'd hear all about it. Remember that? That didn't work out. Why not? I don't know. You tell me. You tell me what's going on. I'm going to refresh this page. Looks like we've got a dead page. Hang on a second here, folks. And I don't know if you are paying attention to the robot revolution. Did you guys know you were in the, I Robot movie? Or maybe we're in the Matrix. Are we in the Matrix? I think we're in the Matrix. I think they're all in love with AI. I wouldn't worry too much about AI. AI isn't going to be the threat. You know what the real problem is, folks? It's not the AI. It's the spirit of the people that are running these things. Software is software. Okay? Software is software. Word processor makes a document on, a letter to your mom, or it can make an evil dossier or something. It can do anything. It's a document creator. So the software isn't evil. It's the spirits of the people using software that we've got to worry about. And now we're seeing the replacement of the American worker using robots. Some of this, I think, actually is good, folks. So I don't know if it's all bad, but nevertheless, Amazon unveils high-tech robots that could replace huge numbers of warehouse workers if the robots actually do the work. Because I saw one that quit like mid-shift and just fell down and decided, I don't want to do this anymore. Amazon announced this fundamental leap with cutting-edge robot called the Vulcan that has human-like sense of touch. So here it is. The Vulcan looks, kind of creepy. And basically what it does is, pick things and make things more efficient. Look, folks, this makes sense. We really don't want to assign people to these kinds of warehouses anyway. So let the machines do that. The machines called Vulcan have cutting-edge technology that learn to feel and have a human-like sense of touch. By doing so, they can carry out detailed picking and packing in warehouses. Good. Excellent. Keep doing a good job, guys. It paves the way for robots to take over jobs currently done by workers in Amazon's vast warehouses. Well, that's good. Free the workers. Give them robots instead. Let the workers go do something else. And you may say, well, but Peter, they're gonna lose their jobs to robots. If a robot can do your job, you need a new job. Just saying. That's maybe saying, hey, you've been relieved. You don't have to be I say send them down to the coal mines, okay? Let them dig the coal. Why are our guys going down there? Where are my brothers going down in the coal mines? Okay? Why are they going down there to no, I mean this seriously. Thank you, Brother David, for saying that. They're going down there and they're getting that black lung? What do they call that? Black lung, right? And they got to go down there every day for a paycheck. Get rid of that. Let the robot go down there. He doesn't get black lung. And if he does, we hose it out. You know what I mean? Send people to do those jobs. You send robots to do those jobs. And that's a revolution that's going on. And get on board. Get on board. Some people say, oh, no, change is going to occur. Yeah, if you worked for the Yellow Pages, can I just say this? If in 1990s you worked for the Yellow Pages, it was time to look for a new job. If you stayed at the Yellow Pages, then you probably didn't do really well because it changed. The world changed. So innovations occur. Cars came in. We stopped riding bikes as much. I mean, did we cry about the bike guys that, oh, they can't make bikes anymore? No, they got to get new jobs. Come on, folks. Let's go. And the same thing's happening with education. This is very interesting, this right here. Teachers are using AI to grade their students' work. Well, that's a bit spooky because AI makes a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes. I catch it, especially with code. Code is something that you can't play with. You can play with some subjective topic. You can pretend you're right, or you can sound good. With code, it'll bust you. Code doesn't let you get away with it, okay? And teachers using AI to grade their students' work sends a clear message they don't matter and will soon be obsolete. That is correct. That is exactly what it's saying. AI becoming ubiquitous in everyday life, thanks to tech companies forcing it down our throats. It's probably no shocker that students are using software like ChatGPT at a nearly unprecedented scale. Let me just take a moment to talk about this, because I happen to know a little bit about this topic, and I know a lot about this software. LLMs are raw power. That's what they are. They are software. They are DOS. Okay? I don't know if you all remember DOS back in the 90s or 80s, rather, but that's what Windows was built on. In fact, DOS is really still there. Windows simply took over and became your graphical user interface and provided the power. The same concept works with AI. AI is like your power company. It supplies you power. Does electricity run your refrigerator? Yes. Does electricity run your air conditioner? Yes. Does electricity run your vacuum cleaner? Yes. Can it vacuum your carpet? No. Can the electricity itself refrigerate your food? No. Can the electricity itself turn the lights on? No, the answer is it requires the internal appliance. It requires the instructions for the electricity. So you have electricity that's raw. It's the outlet or the place it outlets that determines how it presents to the world, if that makes sense. So the same is true with AI. AI on one site will have certain capabilities. The same exact AI put on a different site has different capabilities. Why? It has got nothing to do with the AI. It's got to do with the website that's using the AI, just like power in a refrigerator. So power's power. It doesn't care where it's going. So power can go to a plant that's making good things, or power can go to a plant that's making bad things. You're going to have good AI. You're going to have wicked AI. Not because the AI itself is bad, but because the people creating the windows through which people use them have their own agenda. I've been working with a development platform, for example, that utilizes an AI agent, and it makes a horrific number of mistakes that I catch. Of course, I've been catching them for 30 years, so I was doing that manually. They just sped up their stupidity. So don't be too worried and thinking they're taking over any minute, because they can't even get a form to sit properly on a page without an expert like me coming along to help. So calm down. It's going to be a while before they're any good at anything. And I'm just letting you know from the inside, okay? So you don't get all freaked out, because they certainly love to make it look like something's bigger than it is. And it's just a clever trick of software. That's all it is. You're the ones that are breathing life into it. The people, the interfaces, the way that they're adding extra software. They're adding actual software that does something and takes the AI and does it with. That's about the spirit of the person running that. That's got nothing to do with the AI itself, any more than the electricity determines whether it's powering a house or powering a gang underground, whatever. It's just electricity. Goes where it goes. Pay attention, folks. Hey, speaking of some interesting things, did you guys know that the tomb of Messiah was discovered by archaeologists in an unbelievable find? I thought we already knew where this was. The discovery of an olive tree and a grapevine, the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, corresponds exactly with the description of Jesus' tomb. So we already knew that. I thought we already knew that. The exact location as described in the Gospels of John has been unveiled by architects at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Come by, get your tickets, and see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Come on, man. Get on over here. I look forward to the King returning. Some of this nonsense wears me out. It really, really does. And so, here's a story I forgot to bring up before. Yeah, this just confirms something we were just talking about, that stocks are soaring as Trump blows off his trademark tariff policy. So, this only lasts a short amount of time. It was just manipulation. It was basically trying to get certain things done that they needed to get done. And, they're buying time. So I share this stuff with you so that you don't allow it to overwhelm you, folks, because I believe it is very dangerous to allow these things to grab a hold of our mind and take us down these roads. They're very, very dangerous moments in our world situation. And speaking of strange things, I remember Biden couldn't get a plane. He couldn't get like Air Force One. Now that people giving away they're giving Trump planes. You guys see this? And this is again more of the theatrical stuff that we're going to continue to see. Trump administration poised to accept palace in the sky. This is also in part due to the potential for conflict and war. So Trump administration is poised to accept palace in the sky. And you may say, well, wait a minute. I thought they were winding up the war. Did you forget that they were threatening Iran? And in what may be the most valuable gift ever extended to the United States from a foreign government, the Trump administration is preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar, a gift that is to be available for use by President Donald Trump as the new Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, at which time ownership of the plane will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation. Sources familiar with the proposed arrangement told ABC News. And they're now trying to make that illegal, trying to cause all kinds of stink. But in fact, we've actually seen similar things like that done in previous administrations. So really nothing new here, folks. It's just more of the same. There is a hepatitis outbreak in LA. Don't know that that's really that big a deal, but I just want you guys to know about it. It's now considered to be an outbreak in Los Angeles. Los Angeles is not doing great. They're struggling. They're talking arm and a leg now for prices on gas and things like that. So after a rise in cases throughout the last year, the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health is declaring an outbreak of hepatitis A. And so California, got to keep California in prayer. California continues to be a place where judgment continues to fall. And we certainly are concerned about what we're seeing coming out of there. And this last story is very disturbing. We continue to see these kinds of disturbing stories about schools and places that are supposed to be safe places for children, and unfortunately aren't always that safe. And here we have a story of a lunch lady in San Antonio. So this is hitting a little close to home. We've got family that we love dearly in the San Antonio area, part of New Kingdom, part of Remnant House. And so when I read this story, I was very heartbroken about this kind of nonsense going on in our world. And this is the kind of thing that happens when iniquity abounds. And the love of many wax cold. Our children are the victims. This is why we have to watch them very carefully. A lunch lady had sex with boy every day inside school closet. And staff missed chilling clue on what was going on. A 30-year-old school lunch lady had sex with a boy every day. And her colleagues missed a creepy photo of the victim in her work locker, it is claimed. Jenna Woodward, 30, was arrested on Thursday for allegedly having a relationship with a senior at a high school in San Antonio. And Woodward is accused of course, sexual intercourse with the student on multiple occasions in the school closet. So, again, thankfully not a child, right? So not a baby, but nevertheless, this is what we're sending our children into, these atmospheres that are heavily and demonically affected. There's a tremendous amount of falling away that we're watching. And again, the fragmenting of the mind is probably one of the most dangerous things that we're observing. Because, folks, let's be real here. Uh, Folks that do not keep the commandments, that do not honor the things of the Most High, do not keep His ways, they're going against manufacturers' specifications. So why should we be surprised that there's a backlash? We shouldn't be. As a matter of fact, we should be expecting there to be more. And so my encouragement to all of you is to band together with your brethren, to pray together, to unite in one accord, to work together, no longer giving your time and your labor to pyramid building Babylonians or slavery inducing Egyptians, but instead finding commerce to do together, finding opportunity together, looking for ways to serve one another. As brand new economies are erupting, these folks are falling apart. This gives you opportunity. This gives you a way of escape if you will take it. And I do believe that there are many who are, in fact, working hard to bring about change in the world and bring about good things. And I do believe it's going to continue in that direction. Our final story tonight is the U.S. officials are warning Israel that if it doesn't wake up, if it doesn't get on board, if it doesn't understand what's happening now, the U.S. will advance the Saudi deal without it. And the U.S. official said that Trump was growing frustrated with Israel's approach and that he intends to push on with a deal regardless of Israel's position. A senior American official delivered unusually sharp criticism of Israel's conduct in hostage negotiation and warned that the United States is prepared to finalize a regional agreement with Saudi Arabia, even without Israel participation. According to the report, the remarks were made during a meeting Monday night between the officials of the families of the hostages held by Hamas. There's a lot of scuttlebutt going on that there's a group that are directing the president, if you will, who've had enough of the Middle East state. So this is going to be interesting to watch. The first time I've read that, it was an inside report. I'm not sure I buy it, but I do think it's interesting. I think that there are certain influences that are definitely coming to bear. And so this is going to get dicey. I do believe that we have a potential for a very dangerous summer coming up. So this is why it's a very good thing for those of you that are involved in evangelism, those of you that are out there getting people saved, getting them in the water. Good for you. Do that which you are called to do before the king comes, because we know there comes a point at which he has to put a stop to everything. They come to the point where they threaten the entire world, where he says that unless those days be shortened, there would be no flesh saved. That's how serious these machinations eventually get. So, in the meantime, it is wise for all of you to find and connect with your brethren, find connections. Join the Alliance of Remnant Ministries. We got an upcoming conference you're going to want to be a part of if you are in the fivefold, if you are called to the work of the ministry. And we certainly want to encourage you to be a part of what he is doing now in saving lives. While there are people suffering, this is our opportunity. While people are struggling, this is our opportunity. This is the chance we get to go out and bring solutions that change lives. I believe it's a moment that we should rise to. I hope you are in agreement with that. I hope you're one of those people that are going to rise to the occasion. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. And I want to thank all of you who do take the time to come on over to remnanthouse.org and support this ministry and support this work. Your support is valuable in encouraging what we do. And we're thankful for every one of you who take the time, who make sure we continue. Well, that's our report for tonight. I pray it's been a barakah to each and every one of you, and I'm thankful you took the time to join us. Thanks again. May Allah Hayam Baruch each and every one of you. Good night.